Now, just before we go on, Mike, you said Jessica was 3 mobile phones was impressive. So just wait. Oh, 3? Oh, 4. Yeah, and I left one in the car. So actually, if you have more than 3, it's not impressive. It's what I call stupid. So don't copy me. Don't go and get more than 3 mobile phones. All right, so tonight I thought we might talk about technology. And maybe if I know how to use this, I'll go forwards. Oh no, I'm not on there. I got sacked before I started. Okay, so management rights must rely on technology. If you do not use good technology, your business will struggle. And it'd be nice to think that we could go back to the old pen and paper days, but it's simply not possible. So I thought, seeing at the moment everyone's talking about the moon, I thought I might use this as a little bit of an example, because a lot of people try and understand tech, but they can't kind of really get their head around it because it's something that doesn't necessarily exist. So when we think about landing on the moon, the biggest challenge, even today, NASA will say they have, is how to get from Earth to the moon without travelling through space. And the reason for that is space is an unknown quantity. How it appears today is not how it will appear tomorrow. And 10 years from now, it's certainly going to be a very different space altogether, because we are sending satellites from all the countries around the world up at the rate of knots, and now they are trying to figure out how to deal with the space junk. So NASA figure they have a limited amount of time to start getting the information they need, and they are now looking at other planets that are in a part of space that's a bit less cluttered, a bit like Australia 50, 100 years ago. So if we look, the first moon landing 50 years ago, to actually get to the moon, they did 18 years of planning before they even launched the first rocket. And then they launched rockets for 8 years before they were brave enough to put a person into that rocket. So that was absolutely huge when you think about it. It took 26 years at a time when most of us didn't even have black and white TVs. And for those of you that do remember the era of black and white TVs, if you think back to it, it was actually black and orange to begin with. And somebody had to figure out how to make the orange white. It was much easier on the eye. So that's how long ago and how far back in time they had to plan to go to the moon. Now, one of the challenges they had was everything in the spacecraft was actually computerized. And they were concerned that what if something went wrong, and they truly expected everything to go wrong because they'd never done this before, and usually in technology nothing works the first time. If it works by the 4th or 5th reiteration, you're doing really, really well. So they didn't actually expect anyone to make it back from that mission, although they'll never admit that publicly, but Google does a great job for us all. And what they needed was a watch that could withstand high pressures, velocity, speed, everything, temperatures out of this world. So they actually went to tender. Can you believe this? They went to tender and got watch companies from around the world to tender to make the first watch to go to the moon. And there was 11 things the watchmakers had to meet before they won, and the only one that made it was the Omega Speedmaster. And the really good thing about this for Omega was when all the other companies were doing that stupid quartz thing in your watch that put numbers on your screen, etc., they resisted, and they were able to resist because of the reputation for being the only watch to make it to the moon and back. And most of the Swiss companies at that time that tendered have actually fallen by the wayside. Now there is somebody, I know a lot about Speedmasters, because there is somebody in the room tonight that I discovered has a Speedmaster. So if you want to see one first up and see what it looks like, it won't be the one that Neil Armstrong wore, but it is definitely one that is capable of going to the moon. I'll ask them to share it with you. But this shows you that some of the really basic things that people take for granted today, I mean, I wear a normal watch. These basic things people take for granted are in fact things that we have to continually rely on, even though technology is moving at the rate of knots. So another interesting fact, that little red arrow is pointing out Joanne H. Morgan. She was the first female engineer for NASA, and she was tasked with all the communications between Earth and the rocket. In addition to Joanne, and I don't have a slide because she wasn't prepared to give a photo today, or else the Google one didn't get snipped in time, was Margaret Hamilton. And Margaret Hamilton was the person that actually was in charge of the whole software engineering. Now think about this. This was in an era when women were supposed to stay at home and bake cakes and raise the kids. And the first mission of somebody in a rocket going to the moon was left to, the mercy of 2 women to pretty much control it. Now, if I ask the men, why did that happen? Well, the men will say they really thought it was going to fail and didn't want to see one of their drinking buddies get blamed. So they put a woman up there because women were expected to fail at anything other than baking cakes and raising the kids. If you ask these 2 women why were they picked, they'll say what every single woman in this room says, especially those that are running management rights, which is one of the hardest, most challenging, most rewarding jobs you can find. Those women will say it was because the men really knew if you wanted to get a job done and get it done properly, you needed a woman to do that for you. And that's exactly why those 2 women were pretty much the critical components.
Get back on that broomstick.
Yeah, if he really didn't like me, he would call me the bitch, not the witch. But he calls me the woman on the broomstick, good day witch, bad day bitch, because I really work magic in technology. Our company really works magic. So let's look at this. This is, for anyone in the room who's never seen one, never touched one, never been bitten by one, is a tick, right? And why do I show you a tick? So imagine this, you get bitten by a tick. If you don't like the speech, I'll go home, but just tell me anytime. I'm happy there's a wine on the bench. If you get bitten by a tick, okay, you have a limited amount of time to get that tick out. Every second, every minute, you think about it. Do I do it myself? Do I go to the doctors or whatever? Is life-threatening to you and life-changing. What would be even worse if you act really, really fast and you get to the doctor and the doctor goes, oh, I've never quite seen one with those darker brown spots before. Let me get the encyclopedia out and see what type of tick you've just been bitten by that's stuck in your neck. And every second he waits is causing a greater likelihood of paralysis. And one of the worst things that can happen in a tech company, and it needs to be remembered that we are not a company that has a PMS system. We are a technology company first and foremost that develops technology for many more industries other than the accommodation industry. You guys just know us as HiRUM. You don't know us as anything else. The worst thing that could happen if we even for a minute think about things too long is what we call paralysis by analysis. And that's what happens to people that get bitten by a tick and go to a doctor that's never seen one before. They end up paralysed. So in technology, you have to move fast, really fast, much faster than the 18 years and the 8 years for the rockets that it took to get to the moon. And in order to do so, we have to be really agile. We have to be able to take one thing and turn it into 10, 12, 15 different things. And the Speedmaster watch is a real good example of this. This was a watch that was out there that had been built for racing car drivers, and it had to be modified to make sure it went to the moon. And they had to do it very quickly. They had no time to do it, and they had to be extremely agile. So Omega is not a watch company, they were a technology company without even realising it. So let's bring yourselves into today. Put your hand up if you think cloud is important for your business. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Okay. All right. So do most people, but that's because most people don't understand technology and they just follow the best, most colourful ad and the loudest noise in the room. If you rely on cloud for your business, chances are your data for your business is sitting in a public cloud somewhere in the world. Okay? Now think about all the hotel chains, Marriott, for example, they fined huge dollars. Even Facebook's been hacked recently. All the companies that are hacked because their data is sitting in the cloud. So that's a massive risk. But on top of that risk, the internet outages. Just have a look. Even Facebook and Twitter. And July this month, Telstra had a countrywide outage of their internet services at a time where we're supposed to be getting bigger and better. And one of the reasons for that Telstra outage, in case people don't really know, is because 5G has come out. And 5G is fantastic if you're in an area where there is 5G, and we are, and it's fantastic. But what that means is you actually upstream and downstream so much faster than ever before. And if you can go so much faster, it's like driving a car. You get somewhere so much quicker. So therefore, when you're downstreaming and upstreaming, you're getting a lot more information in a shorter amount of time, which means in the 10 minutes you're Googling, you're probably getting 3 times the data download that you ever had before. And that's put immense strain on the network that nobody ever thought would happen, because they got so caught up in let's get 5G out there, they didn't think about it properly. So, put your hand up if you think your mobile is important for your business. And Jessica should have her hand up now because she has 3 mobiles. And of course, mobile is important for your business because you can take it everywhere with you. The problem with mobile is this. This was Tuesday. This was Optus. On Tuesday is the red one. So Telstra had some problems, but Optus had a much bigger problem in a smaller space. So all these poor people living here, which I'm sure you will agree is a little bit like the Gold Coast, suffered with both Telstra and Optus. So yes, you do need your mobile, but if you haven't got connectivity, you're in real strife. So now you're dependent on a cloud that may or may not work, depending what's happening out there. You're also dependent on a mobile that may or may not work. So how is either of those critical to your business, and how is either of those going to work for you? So that's where HiRUM comes in. So we're a bit like the NASAs of the world. We look at the problem we want to solve, and NASA wanted to solve the problem of getting someone to the moon, and if everything went horribly wrong, still knowing how fast they actually went, how long it took them to get there, and they developed the Speedmaster to suit that. What we did was we said you cannot rely on internet and you cannot rely on mobile phone connectivity. So now we have to do what NASA would like to do. NASA would like to have Earth and Moon and nothing in between. So we have to develop something that goes from your computer at your hotel, resort, accommodation property, or even your office, and to your phone, and work and continue to work even when you've got no internet connectivity. You need to be able to keep an eye on your business, conduct the tasks you would do on your business on your phone, even if Optus is down, Telstra is down, and the cloud's just being blown up by who knows what, falling out of space, one of those space junk things. So we built mobile first. And pretty much what it does, it goes desktop to mobile, and it takes out the cloud completely. Now this is not mobile friendly, it is not mobile responsive, it is technology that is actually designed to work from a phone first, and that phone will appear on your desktop, but the phone is telling the desktop, this is how I want you to look. So now, instead of right now, if you pulled your phone out and tried to go to a normal app, your app has to go to the cloud and then goes to someone's server, and I've put desktop here, but they use the cloud to get to a computer somewhere in the world. And they have to hope that all those bits of connection are working and it's going to render you the information. And we said that is going to be so outdated, it's so risk, we have to mitigate it. We've actually been building this 6 years, and to date we've got 5 live apps out there now. And we can run, you can go to your resort rooms, you can inspect the rooms, you can notice there's a problem, you can report it to maintenance and it flicks over into the maintenance app. And I shouldn't call it an app because you think it's some little gadget on your phone. It's actually a program that's designed for your phone that takes up no space on your phone. You imagine it is not going to use space on your phone. You're not going to have to start buying massive phones. So basically what it does is you see a problem, you tap on maintenance, it reports it to maintenance, or you can tap on asset and decide straight away, is it under warranty, contact the service guy, etc. It's all seamless technology. That's what we build. So the problem is a lot of companies make the mistake, they get caught up in the hype of what other people seem to be building or seem to be solving, but they never really ask themselves, what's the problem I'm trying to solve? What they don't do as well is they quite often don't go to a few providers and say, this is what my business needs, how does it look? And what they end up with, and this is really critical to your business, and Mike would be able to give good examples, is you end up with something on your desk or your cloud from one provider, you end up something talking to your OTAs from another provider, you end up with another piece talking to your guests from another provider, you might even end up with something on your website from another provider, who knows? You end up with all these pieces bolted together. So you're increasing the risk to your business instead of just using one single technology. And you're also increasing the risk to your business when you're dependent on a cloud that could be anywhere in the world. So I wanted to say to you, you've really got to think, you're running a business, your time is precious, you've really got to have something in your pocket with you all day, all night, even next to your bed, so that if you get some drunk at the front door that says he's lost his key, you do not have to get out of bed to look at your computer. You can lift your phone up and go, nah, mate, you ain't in that room. You're not here, I'm not letting you in. Go to the hotel next door, without even leaving your bed. That's what you need, and that's what we do best at HiRUM. We look at the problems, we're just like the NASAs of the world. We look at the problems, we try our best to solve those problems with technology. And, best thing you can do is plan ahead. Decide what your business is going to look like in 3 years' time, and what's the most simple, reliable, effective way to do that. Do not rely on your staff. You may have a staff member that comes to work for you that's worked with another hotel, and they may have used our system in that other hotel, and they say to you, oh, HiRUM's much better, rip this out. Don't trust your staff member. Do your own investigation. Find out what is really going to work for your business and make those people use it. And lastly, that's what we did. We took all of these things, and I'm probably that crazy lady up there in the middle. We took all of these things and we said, we have to put them together. We have to find a way to really stay ahead, but not so much to stay ahead as a company, but to solve the problems in management rights. And that's what our technology does. So we innovate. That's us. Thank you.